Okay, this is part 3 of the Conte crown drawing slash our foreshortening exercise. It's at this point that we've kind of gone back and forth between our sanguine to initialize the shape and the perspective of the drawing. We've made some tonal modulation by blending with that, and we've gone in and we've added our darker tones and values using the Bistre crayon. And it's at this point that we'll start to introduce the black crayon. So you got to be very sparing with black, just like you were sparing with the Bistre, because if you're not careful, things will get muddy. The other thing that I want to say is when we're working on a drawing at the scale that I'm working on, and perhaps even the full page scale that you're working on, the Conte crayons themselves are not going to give you as fine a contour line to do things like texture in the hair and or the eyes, the shapes of the nose, which, you know, on these types of scales are pretty darn small. So it's kind of hard to see because you're grasping such a small tool, what your finger is doing. And the charcoal pencils are perfectly acceptable as a medium. I do believe they make Conte crayon pencils, but in an effort to save money, I decided that we would just mix with the charcoal pencils. But again, I just want to reiterate that as you start to use the Conte crayon black, you want to do it minimally. You don't want to do a lot of blending into the existing tones. This is meant to be more of a modulating tone that you deepen the existing darks that you created with a Bistre or as a detail. So I'm going to do a little bit of both. I'm also going to start working into the background. I realize that I'm kind of going contrary to what I originally emphasized and harangued you about and beat you up about. I haven't really worked into the background very much here at all. I've got a little bit behind this figure, a little bit on the surface of this figure, but I'm trying to demonstrate the techniques internally at this point. I am going to move into the background, and I'm really trying to develop an ethic with these demos of using them to make my own drawings. So I might do some weird stuff in the background, add some weird animal shapes or some words, etc. That's not required for you. You can do simply a Rembrandt-esque kind of sfumato atmospheric play. If you would like, you can keep it on the light side or the middle side or the dark side. The main thing is to use it to create contrast and context to the figures. So I'm going to go ahead and start drawing. And I might at some point speed it up so that these lectures don't get too long. So your black is the same as your charcoal, but again, the Conte crayon is waxier. So the blender or binder that's in there is a lot harder to erase, and it has a different kind of textural surface. So I'm going to go ahead and just start to deal with some negative space out here. I'm going to rough it in, and I'm going to use it to correct my shapes where necessary, maybe capture a little bit of light creeping around that edge. You can see I didn't go right up to the edge of the drawing. And in addition to that, I'm going to start laying in little areas of emphasis and a little bit of contour line in the folds of these things. In this particular image, the lady is really got a dark fabric on. We've already discussed that, I know. But you can see that the minute that I start to add in that black, we really start to get a nice sense of contrast. I'm not putting black in order to make her hair black. I'm making pockets of negative space. And again, you don't have to use the side of your chalk. For instance, here, I'm using the point. You can see how that trails off into the bistre color and creates a nice mixture. But it's really powerful as far as creating that contrast. Now, one of the things you might find, for instance, in here, it's not getting as rich as I want. And this is something that I think I talked about previously. If you're not getting as deep a tone as you want, you may need to come in and just erase or avoid doing it all together with the bistre. Because watch what happens now in this little area when I put the black down over an erased page. You can see that it's really a lot more intense and rich. So that can help. So, you know, the idea of erasing to get light is well known to us at this point in our process, but we can also use the erasing to kind of prep the page, if you will. So like right here, it's a pretty dark area. So I'm going to go ahead and just erase that back. I know it really seems counterintuitive, but remember, these underdrawings are tonal maps. And when we're finalizing or finishing, trying to get the coloration that we need, sometimes we have to so like there's a really deep triangle of shadow here. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that. I know it's dark because I put the bistre down. I'm erasing it to give myself a nice little area that will more easily accept that black. And then I can erase back the edge. And if I want it to be a kind of reddish or sanguine color, I can go ahead and again, and you can see that that creates a much purer finish. So just keeping that in mind. So like there's a really deep shadow under her. And if I put the black over the bistre like I've done here, and especially if I blend, you can see that we get this dark brown, which is not too bad actually. But if I want it to be richer towards the middle, for instance, as a shadow often will be, more diffuse here, then I might just erase back and then put my black down. And you can see that it's much richer here. I can blend it and retain that richness, and then I can give my shadow a nice kind of brownish soft edge. And then if I want to sharpen the edge of that shadow, especially as it comes close to her knee, I can do so. Does that make sense? I don't know who I'm talking to. She's got really dark hair here. You can see, again, I'm not drawing curls. I'm just drawing in blocks of tone. The curls will come on top and later. All right, now the other thing that I want to show you as we're dealing with this black stage, we can blend and soften that negative space. Georges Seurat, the French post-impressionist, used Conte crown a lot because it has that nice texture kind of view or feeling. Drag some of this tone over the edge, kind of turn that in space. I think before I go too far, I might even come in here. Deal with some of that negative space. Again, you know, like every drawing that we've done, it's always a good idea to at least get up against the edge of that figure with some tonal contrast so that you can see how the light is working. Now, I distracted myself a little bit with that negative space. It's at this point that I think getting some nice, sharp charcoal pencil to start to define some of their features. Because their features are very amorphous right now. They need a little bit more sometimes your lead gets stuck in your pencil sharpener. I just sharpened my thumbnail. All right, so I'm gonna come to my lovely kneeling lady down here. I'm going to zoom in on my reference photo so that I can really see her face. And of course, I can use my charcoal pencil So I think there you can see the kind of detail that's possible with this. Anytime you want to use a broader area, there's no sense in using this unless you want some sort of textural abstraction, which is fine. But when you're getting in there to the smaller areas, you definitely want to use the charcoal pencils. So I'm going to speed this up now, and we're going to use the dark to get into the figure itself as well, contour lining, and development of the face.